Okay, so we've just done our two clip layers. We did one with Travis County contours, and then we did one kind of at the more site scale with UT campus and contours there. So now we're going to walk through how exactly you can get this data out of GIS and start making it look a little bit prettier than this ugly blob that it is right now. Um, so go back to map. I did want to show you a few things here. You can rely on this base map for a lot of stuff, and we can tone it down and have more control over the layers when we actually get into Illustrator. But I did want to show you they have a lot of options here for base maps, so you don't have to stick with this standard one. You can even go in later and change the colors, turn things off, turn off the text when we're in Illustrator. But if you had like a specific look that you were trying to go for, you can always change it and see what that looks like. So there are some different ones. There's satellite imagery. There are some more stylized ones, like this one is a blueprint. You know, if you want a more stylized map, just showing you some options here. And I'm going to turn this off so you can, sometimes it will, you know, highlight different things. If you zoom in and out at different scales, certain things will appear. Um, so just some options there if you do want something other than the typical one. I typically just leave it as the topographic map because I do think it's a nice base. And like I said, we can turn off this text, we can turn off this background color, we can change the colors for certain things when we get to Illustrator. So most of the time I just leave it as it is. And you know, you can always take stuff out of GIS, work on it in Illustrator, and then using the workflow I'm about to show you, we can always come back and add more data if needed. So let's go ahead with our site here, boundary and contours. And what I'm going to do is go to Insert, and I want to insert a new layout. So this would be like whatever paper size. I like to think of this kind of as like similar to InDesign, but definitely a lot less control. We just want to get a basic grab of what our area is going to be. So let's say I'll keep it at 1117. It's going to pull it in a layout folder or layout tab. I'm going to add the map frame. This is just the one that we have been working on, and just click and drag to fit it to your window. So it's showing me everything that I have in this map. I can turn things on and off in here, or I can turn it on and off if we go back to the map. And it also displays the sources. So right here, it's showing the scale in inches. And what I like to do is while I'm in here, you can also add, you know, a north arrow. You can add a scale bar. What I like to do is I like to add the scale bar in GIS, and I'll tell you more on that why. Not that I plan on using this scale bar, but it's mainly just going to be a reference for me as I'm moving into the other type of programs to make sure that I'm keeping it at the right scale. You can right click on this to go to properties to edit it. And what I want to do here is basically just set this up so it's going to be more understandable to me than looking at the scale in inches. And I'm sure there's probably a setting where you can mess with this and change it to be more understandable. But since GIS is usually at a larger scale, it's usually set to that. So I'm looking at this scale bar. I want to make the width something that is going to be a round number. So I would do 2 inches or 1 inch, just so we can see, okay, what is our actual scale in inches? You know, this looks like it might be a little hard to read, so maybe I'll go up to to 2. And again, this is just for my own reference, so I know like what the scale is, and I can just use this as a reference when I make my own pretty scale later. So right now it's saying this is in miles. We can also go back and change that from miles to feet. So that's under this first. So now we've got it in feet, which makes it a little bit more understandable than this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just basically going to play with this viewport and get it to a position where this is a nice even round number, and I like the extent that we're showing. So to activate this and not just, be dragging around the map, you want to right click on it, go to activate. Now it's going to kind of function like it does in InDesign, where you can zoom in and out of this. So definitely be careful with that if you do have it in a set position where you don't want to mess with it. And you will see that it updates here on the side as I zoom in and out. Okay, so looks like maybe and this is where I'll use this tool and kind of start to finely experiment with it until I get something that has both my boundaries and an even scale. And when I'm done working in this map, you just want to go to layout and close this activation so you don't accidentally move around. So now we've got it at, I think I made this 2 inches, so it should be 1 inch equals 500 feet. And I know a little bit of it's cut off, but just for the purposes of showing in this video, I think we're going to go ahead and go with that. So the nice thing about this is I have my layout set up. As long as I don't, go in this and touch it and move it around after I export it, I can continue to go in and add certain layers that maybe I didn't have previously. So it's not the type of case where you have to be completely finished in GIS before you're taking this step and going to Illustrator. Can also, like I was saying, control them from out of here. If you do, later on, let's say we have this in Illustrator and we're like, oh no, we forgot to add the parcels. What you can do is just turn everything off that we've already exported and then turn your parcels on, and then just rinse and repeat the same process that I'm about to show you as we move into Illustrator.